Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shawn Aceto. Welcome to Your Essential Nature. I'm here with my lovely co-host, Kimberly Testa.
Oh, you remembered my middle name.
I did. It's a lovely day here in East Providence. Funny story on the way here. We tried to hurry to get here. You ever tried to hurry to get to East Providence?
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
No, I was a little late as well, and I got a lot of lights.
All of them.
Yeah.
So we just gave up at some point, just gave up and said, all right, we're just going to get there and we get there. So where are we at today?
So you texted me the other day and said, what are we going to talk about? And I sat for a minute and I heard the word resonance. And I figured, it's a good subject, and with what you do with the crystal bowls and what we do, each of us does as healers.
Yeah.
It's a word that does come up. I often find myself asking clients if what I'm saying resonates with them. And then I sit back and go, is that a funny word? Is that a new age word? Do people understand? Do people?
Not everyone uses it yet.
No. And do people? I don't know. I think people do. But does everyone understand what that means? And do I understand what that means?
It means something different to everyone.
It does, and it means different things.
You know what I was thinking? We could do a show where we do like an Amway-themed show where we just do the whole thing in cliche. And just go back and forth like that.
Let's do the show first, though.
Oh, okay, but first we're going to check on traffic and weather.
Let's focus on today.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess you want me to talk today. So
there's an interesting term that goes that I like really well. From a guy named Manly P. Hall, who did a lot of New Age talks, very progressive, way ahead of his time in the 30s and 40s and up into the 60s, I believe. And he kind of called what we do magnetic healing because of the magnetic resonance we create within ourselves, within our hands, within that space between us and the client. And I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. If you've ever played with your hands, both of them, and played with them a little bit, you'd notice that there is a certain feeling you have, and people equate, especially kids, to trying to push two magnets together.
Yeah.
So I think there's really something to be said to that. One of the fun theories I have is that people say they can't sleep when there's a full moon. My mother particularly, she can't sleep anyway, but she likes to blame it on the full moon. And I think with the proximity being a little closer, it affects the iron content in our blood. It kind of wires us up a little bit because of that magnetic polarity.
Mm-hmm. Are you done?
Well, I read an interesting article last night.
Was that it, or are you going to
No, that's it. Go ahead. Take it away.
Okay. Well, you also mentioned the hands, right? When we work on people with the hands. And
have you ever tried it with your feet?
Well, I don't use. I mean, I do it with intention mostly. I do a lot of phone work with people.
You should try it with the shoes on.
I have. Oh, I probably have. Mm-hmm. They're always on in my mind. So, resonance. Are we in resonance today?
We're getting there because we're talking kind of coming together on that, and that's like if you've ever tuned an instrument, the resonance comes together before they finally get so close they become one sound.
Right.
So is that what you do with a client? Do you bring their resonance into line with where they want to be, into a preferable vibration?
Or perhaps with the way that they essentially are, and not the way that they want to be.
Like their essential nature?
Yeah. We're in the right place to talk about this.
Yeah, so I look at it, and I've explained it to many of my clients before, like in science class in elementary school 30 years ago. You take a screwdriver, right, and you rub a magnet on it, and it polarizes all the atoms in that screwdriver, and then that becomes magnetized. Mm-hmm. So I've described it, some of what I do with people is bringing their atom, their atomic structure, their vibration in line so it's cohesive all the way through to allow their system to function properly, to be in perfect resonance, to be in harmonic resonance. So 2 cool words.
So what are they in resonance with?
With where they prefer to be, with what feels good. Because no one feels good being miserable. Some people enjoy being miserable. There's a benefit to it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they don't prefer it.
Well, I don't know. Some people do.
We should interview them.
We should.
Is there anyone in the studio audience who does that?
No, I don't think in this audience.
They're all dead. You ever wonder, like, dead people, when they're dead, their spirit is there. Like, we have to watch TV. We have to use that to tune in. Do you think that their spirit can just tune in and say, I want to watch Channel 9? And they can just tune in that vibration and they can just watch TV while being dead.
Absolutely. Our audience is speaking.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is about frequency. Where is your frequency? Where's your consciousness? And the way, that we work with clients too is I come in and out of, here I go into different dimensions, I can tune in, but I don't want to all the time because it gets complicated, it gets confusing. But we all have access to this.
Mm-hmm. So it's, in a way, you ever drive down the road and you get a song stuck in your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a drag queen bingo song. It's stuck in your head, and you turn the radio on, and there it is. So you're already tuning into that kind of frequency. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what happens with myself, with you, with Laura, where we're kind of tuned into the same station, the same channels going on.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on with somebody, whether they're there or not. And so when you work with a client, you're able to tune into their channel, sometimes whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've noticed too is when you sort of have a set rate of where your frequency is. So say you're vibrating a little higher than someone else. If someone comes into your field who has a lower vibration and they want to match yours, mm-hmm. what happens? Oh, the crap comes out.
It depends.
Because they have to shed it all.
And sometimes they shed all over you.
They do. But that's our job, is to be shed all over and clean it up.
Well, it's like that joke, the bear walks up to the rabbit and says, hey, does poo stick to your fur? And the rabbit says no, and he grabs the rabbit and sends him on his way.
Yeah.
So we're better at shedding the shed.
Well, yeah, but it also comes with practice, because before I knew that I was an empath and before I really paid attention, everyone's poo was sticking to me because I thought it was my own. And then once I realized that it wasn't, the poo doesn't stick anymore, unless it resonates with me. I used to go, say, for example, in the supermarket. It was really hard for me to be in the supermarket because anyone who had any sort of anxiety, I would pick up on it, feel it in my body. And the more that I cleared myself and the more that I worked in myself, the less it happened. And now I don't even notice at all. I could be in the supermarket just oblivious to everyone else.
That's because you don't know you're at the supermarket. But do you think that happens by virtue of being empathic? It means that the range of channels you're able to pick up on is far greater than someone that lives in a very narrow spectrum. Is that?
Yeah. And that's part of it too, is because I do meet a lot of empaths who still really struggle with this every day. And for me, I just don't tune into that frequency. And it's the same thing when I first started on this journey. I had a lot of encounters with ghosts or spirits that had crossed over, and they were constantly tapping me on the nose or tapping me on the head. And eventually I moved up out of that frequency, and it doesn't happen anymore. But if I tune my channel into their channel, I can tap into it.
Yeah. So it becomes more of a choice.
Yes, absolutely.
It becomes a fine tuning of that.
Yeah.
So how do you tell people to tune others out?
I don't tell people to tune others out.
I do it all the time.
Do you?
Yeah. Sometimes you have to. You have to, because you walk into a densely populated space with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that, one, that I had social anxiety.
I did too.
It did, but I also didn't like people that much. Mm-hmm. And I think part of it was that you go into that, and that's exactly what happens. That everyone else you're seeing that you're around, that you don't want to be around, they don't want to be around anyone either. So it's all this anxiety, and everyone's all puckered up, and they don't want to be there.
Right.
So you have to kind of go into that and be aware enough to say, okay, it's not mine. It's not mine. I'm just going to close down the channels and put your little antennas in. And
yeah. But people have a problem with that because they still hook onto it. They don't know how to let go. Because if it's still resonating with them, it's like is attracting like here. And I feel, for myself anyway, for my journey, once I let go of it, it didn't get hooked on me anymore. I can feel it if I tune in, but it doesn't stay with me because I know it's not mine.
Mm-hmm. Is that why everyone wears earbuds in the store? Everywhere now?
To block people out.
Yeah, I think they do. So you see it at the gym. Not that I go to the gym anymore, but it's like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Does it show? I could eat some green beans. Does it, it's almost like saying, no, I don't want to talk to anyone here. I'm in my own little zone. My flaps are down.
And I did that with my Walkman in the 1980s. I remember being on the bus, and I would just put my foam earbuds
I bet you
in.
couldn't even see it.
And no, I had a shaved head at that point. And I wouldn't even have music on half the time, and it was just to block people out so people wouldn't approach me. In fact, someone actually did approach me and said that he knew me from high school, and I totally denied it because I didn't want to talk to him. At that point, I was so overwhelmed with it. But yeah, we block people out. But at the same time, the earbuds are also a distraction from us listening to ourselves.
Yeah, in a way of not being present at all.
Yeah.
So the New Age community talks a lot about crystals, and I brought one in here to demonstrate. Do you feel that? Do you feel what it's doing?
No.
It's not doing anything. It's a rock.
Because I'm not tuning into it.
But so someone explained this to me in one of the sound healings that we did, is that the instruments, the gongs, the crystal bowls, are impartial instruments. They're an impartial vibration. They're not going to come down into where you are. So you can either run screaming, or you're forced to ascend in your vibration up to meet that, because it will not move. And I think that's a great way to do that. And that's what you say people really need to shake their stuff off before they can come into that. They need to lighten their load, so to speak, before they can come up and do that. Which brings it to the other point of what sound healing and sound resonance does. Is it brings the cellular frequency in line into a harmonic balance within itself, which you're going to feel essentially from top to bottom. Because really everything is a frequency, even the green beans.
Right.
Are resonating at a certain frequency that reflects that color. You're not even seeing those. Did you know that?
I know.
You're not. Tell a little kid that. You're not seeing that. You're just seeing a reflection of light off of that. And watch their head, they'll go cry. So part of in doing that is bringing your systems, your cellular systems, your organ systems, your vibrations, and your blood all into a harmonic line where everything works together cohesively.
Right. And, as you're saying this, I'm thinking about, what happens when people come in for sessions is they're out of resonance. So there's parts of them, there's stuff that they're holding on to that doesn't feel good. They may be in pain, they may have an illness or tightness or tension, whatever it is. It's because those energies are not in resonance with who they really are.
With their frequency.
Yeah.
And we know from physics and science that even that crystal there, it's such because it's resonating, it's vibrating, the molecules in it are oscillating at a certain frequency that creates that kind of density. And really all that is little molecules with a whole lot of space.
Yeah. Dancing.
That's actually a party going on right there.
There is. Can you hear it? I was thinking about that on the way over, about, how resonance is equal to sound. And I was thinking about silence.
I like when you think about that.
Thanks. And do we ever really experience silence here? No, we can't.
We can't even experience the old story: if a tree falls in the woods and a man hears it, no, that's the wrong one. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound.
Right.
Sound is based on a receiver of that sound. So if there's no consciousness there to receive it, and I guess not. It makes a vibration. It would certainly make a vibration, but it doesn't make a sound.
But that's also assuming that we're the only consciousness, because the tree has consciousness, plants have consciousness, rocks have consciousness.
Do you do tree Reiki?
No, I don't do Reiki.
Pine leaf tree. So we came up with a new modality today. I was talking to Laura, and your navel, your belly button is your interface between you and your mother, or your egg. So, we could go around and pop into people's navels and tell them their whole story by connecting with that interface. You could just plug right in. You could do it with strangers.
I think somebody already does that.
Really?
Yeah, look it up. I'm pretty sure I've heard someone talk about it.
Are they a master?
I'm sure they're a master.
I want to look. Maybe I'll get a certificate from them.
I'll give you one. I can write one up.
Oh, nobody checks? There's no certificate background checks anymore?
What do you want?
So, what gives us our credibility is those who are willing to experience, are willing to trust their experience.
Absolutely.
Has anyone ever checked your degrees?
No.
No. Nobody has.
No.
But you can tell people, and then that's all the credibility you need. So really,
Wow.
you can buffalo your way in.
Buffalo. Why don't you expand on that?
Well, it's another word for BS.
Ah.
You buffalo. I'm trying to keep it PG-13.
Yeah.
So tell me more about resonance. Or did you say residence, like where you live, or you're talking about residence?
I'm talking about residents, the group, the guys that dress up in the big eyeballs.
Well, I guess it could be both. Your resonance and residence would be very similar, right?
You reside in your resonance.
Mm-hmm. When you're in line with it, when you're in perfect alignment.
In alignment, that came up on my drive here too, being in alignment.
Laura talks a lot about that. I wish she were here with us. She could sit right here with our little friend, and she could point and she could say, it comes in here, and then it lines up there, and that says hi. Why don't you tell me a little about that?
The alien?
Yeah.
It's just something my son made. He put it all together. It was a model kit, and he just wanted to come today and say hi. I guess we needed him to talk about resonance.
Wow. Does he have a name?
Howard. He just told me.
Is he Native American? Is he saying how? Word?
You're going to get in trouble.
Well, that was the thing. It was how. It was an expression of openness. You missed that class, didn't you?
I'm trying to tune into your low frequency.
Good luck with that. So we want to get around to talking about different things.
Yeah.
We want input from our listeners, from our studio audience. We want emails, youressentialnature@gmail.com. And we'd like to know what people think. What do they want to talk about? What do you want a different perspective on? Do you want to talk about astral travel? Do you want to talk about space? So we heard the word soulmate today.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, the idea of a soulmate is surrounded by fear, because then there's only one, and that's it. And if you miss that one, you're out of luck.
Well, I don't believe that. But,
no, I don't either.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about time.
As you relate to the studio?
Yeah. So I was thinking about time. People always talk about what's time travel, what's seeing into the future. So if we're on the road, right? And I'm in a helicopter and I'm watching you on your road, and I can see 5 miles ahead of you, and you're not going to be there for a little while. Am I seeing into the future? Or is it just a different perspective?
It's just a different perspective. There really isn't a future.
How do you know?
It's all happening now. I see that.
So anyways, in conclusion, thanks for tuning in. Next time we'll get into our traffic and weather. They didn't call in today. But send us an email. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to talk about. If you want Kim to wear her golden shoes, please let us know also. I'm Shawn Aceto. This is Kimberly Testa. Thanks for tuning in.